All right, everyone. Sit down, grab yourself a soda or a glass of water. You know, water is the superior drink, as my son says. And have a listen to this little song I wrote.
Fascinated by the bright and shiny. Most of us are just fat and whiny, numb to distraction in a stupefied state. Others less qualified, deciding our fate. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of bigotry, tricked and sedated by the powers that be. Eat more fast food, watch more TV, Vegas buffet, waxing obese, minivans and bingo, massage with release. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of tyranny. I pledge allegiance to the status quo, to Coke and to the Golden Arches and Walmart, and to the Olive Garden with its unlimited breadsticks. That's right. One nation overweight, delusional, with extra cheese and free refills for all. Yeah. Corporate-run restaurants, oversized portions. Check the facts on the cable news distortion. Lumberjack breakfast, lap band blues. It's all you can eat on a Mexican cruise. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of trickery. No.
All right, well, that was me playing the ukulele, singing a song I did a few years ago. Just wanted to share it with you people. Let me know if you like it or not. Here we go.
Says what he wants, but he's so contradicted. He's a man of conviction, but he's never been convicted.
Greetings, everyone. This is Matthew Gosson. This is Man of Conviction. Welcome to the show. Because I'm a man of conviction, but I've never been convicted. So I'm going to have to explain that every few episodes. Otherwise, people are going to think this is some sort of religious show. Which it has gotten religious at times, but, you know, not usually. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Anyway, today on the show, Jody Hill. You got to listen to this one. Interesting individual. With some interesting stories. We spoke about Throbbing Gristle and Melt Banana. I'm just going to leave it there, and you're going to have to figure out what we're talking about. So, let's, settle in and listen to Jody Hill and myself chatting. All right, everybody, we are here with Jody Hill. And, thanks for coming out to Van Nuys. This is far out in the valley as you've been, huh?
It is, yeah. Thanks for having me, man. Yeah.
My pleasure. You are a guitar tech. Is that the official?
Yeah, that's what I call myself.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And you work at the famous McCabe's guitar store.
I do.
And you've touched a lot of guitars over the years, haven't you?
I have, man. Yeah, many.
I have, as you can see up there, I have just a standard classical guitar. Those, I guess, a wide neck. What do you call them? Just a basic, just standard classical guitar.
Yeah. Just nylon string.
I got used to playing on those, and then got an electric guitar, and was like, boy, the neck is the distance between the strings is a whole other world here.
Right. Totally. They're totally different animals for sure.
You can see that says signed by B.B. King. I don't know if I told you I happened to.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah,
man.
I got a random.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's my only guitar story I got. I'm going to let the rest be told by you.
That's the only guitar story you need, man. It's a B.B. King signed guitar.
He was he was just happened to be right there, and I had that guitar in my edit bay, and I said, how can I not ask at least?
Yeah, man, totally.
And he obliged with no problem. So I had a friend whose father repaired musical instruments, I think mostly classical he's also a guitar player himself, but he repaired classical instruments, and I would hear some of the stories, and it's such detail work and like almost like CSI investigation sometimes, isn't it? Like trying to figure out what's going on with the guitar.
Yeah, it can be for sure. I don't do a whole lot of the cosmetic repair stuff and then the structural repair stuff. I'll do some, but we've got another guy at McCabe's that does most of that stuff on classicals, mostly bracing issues with classicals
Right.
and bridge lifting up and that kind of thing. And I'll do some bridge re-glues and that kind of thing. But yeah, got to get the mirrors out and get inside the guitar and figure out where the bracing's loose and or broken or whatever, you know, and fix a lot of crack repairs on those too.
And would you say you, when people get into detailed talk of pickups?
A little bit, yeah. It depends on how deep you go with that too, man. Because if some people do get real wacky with what they want with their guitars, you know, and you just have to figure it out either during or after the fact. You know what I mean? It's trial and error with a lot of these guys that want different pickup configurations. You know?
Do people have things they like don't take that screw out, or like, make sure you don't clean this thing because it gives
Yeah.
a sound. It has a sound I like.
It's funny because people will still leave the plastic on the pick guards and they'll have stickers on their guitar that have totally worn off or whatever. But you still don't touch it, you know. Somebody wants their guitar cleaned up and, set up and everything. And we've had that happen, over time, and you learn, don't freaking just start taking stickers off people's guitars or taking the plastic off or whatever.
They'll lose their mind.
They'll lose their freaking mind. Yeah, man. Yeah, so it's so weird because you're like, what? It looked like crap, but there's something sentimental to them or whatever, so yeah.
So how'd you get your start? Obviously, you're a guitar player.
Yep.
A lover of music, and you sort of, I'm sure that's how it started, right? Please tell us.
Yeah. I've played guitar since I was 13. I worked in an art store, though. That was kind of the first real job I had. Worked there for 10 years and doing warehouse shipping and receiving and delivering and stuff, art supplies all around town. And then the Gibson Guitar Factory opened up in Memphis. And a buddy of mine that I worked with at the art store got a job over there supervising and came by and told me, he's like, man, you got to come work at Gibson. He goes, you would absolutely love it. So it's like, I've been here 10 years and it's probably about time for a change, So I went over and applied and got the job, and it was fantastic. I mean, it was just really cool. Atmosphere was everything I ever wanted out of a job, really. I'm building Gibson guitars. I always loved Gibson guitars, and they started me in the hand sanding department. It's kind of easy, way to figure out color prep. You get the guitars ready to be painted,
Okay.
So you can't jack them up too much in that department, you know what I mean? You can get in, learn how to work with the wood a little bit. I did that for a few months, and then they moved me over to the neckline, and I started hand rolling the necks, which is basically shaping the back of the necks.
Uh-huh.
We put the fretboards on the necks.
Is there a sander that you use to sort of get that round?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was like a vertical sander. It was like a belt sander flipped up on its side, so you're facing it, and you just each of the blocks that were on the sander were built to fit the profile of the neck,
Okay.
on either side, the waist and the
Fun.
the headstock and stuff. Yeah.
And you put the fretboard on, you said?
Well, we glue the fretboard on, then there would still be some overhang on the neck, after you get the fretboard on. So that's when you take off all the meat of the neck, you leave all the back of the neck's just basically rectangular, and you just shape it. You shape it into the right dimensions. They give you some calipers, and you make sure it's the right thickness at the first fret, right thickness at the 12th fret, and a lot of other things too. You've got to make sure not to get into the binding, if there's binding on that particular neck or whatever.
So that fretboard is a separate piece of
Yeah.
wood with the
frets already
in it, and so and of course it's the width is very specific, so that it's made with that in mind, and then that gets glued onto the back of the
Right.
the
The
board.
fretboard. Yep.
and then is it just a glue?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Just a wood glue. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah. And the necks already have the veneer, or not the veneer, but the laminate stuff on the top. It's got the Gibson logo and everything in it.
Okay.
It's already got that on the headstock. Don't have the nuts on them yet. They fit the nuts after the fact.
And then the body of the guitar is a whole other department, I'm sure.
Yep. Then there's the body lines, kind of the beginning of in the factory. That's where everything kind of starts. Where I worked, we did all the ES line, like the hollow body electrics.
Okay.
ES stands for electric Spanish, if you didn't know that.
I did not. So
Yeah.
So an electric Spanish or ES guitar is those hollowed out.
Some
electric.
are full hollow, like the 175s, and then some have a center block in them, so they're semi-hollow. But they all have F holes, to kind of make them a little bit acoustic,
Yeah, I've always sort of liked the way those sound.
Yeah.
Never had one, but I didn't know that's how you distinguish them. Okay, that's very good.
And another fun point too, that most people probably don't know, is like 175, 335, 125, whatever. Back in the day, that's how much they cost.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That was the price.
So an ES 175 was $175, right? ES 335 was $335. Yeah.
And well, of course, with the figuring and labor and rent and all that, but it must cost them, because they're doing a bunch of them. It probably can't cost them too much per guitar to knock out.
Yeah, I never got down to that, knowing exactly what. But yeah, it was definitely.
They're making pretty good profit.
They're making a real good profit. Yeah.
And that was in Memphis.
Yep. I mean, we did a few solid bodies. We did the double neck 1275s.
Okay.
Like the Jimmy Page double neck
Sure.
guitar, So we would do those. We just took off some of the things that were little, that Nashville didn't really have time to deal with and wanted to pass on to us. So they'd send us the wood and stuff, and we'd make those too. They have the programs. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like Nashville would be a good place to have a guitar factory.
Except when it floods, man. You heard about the flood, right?
No, I did not.
Yeah, back in, I think it was late 2000s. 2010, 2009, something like that. Yeah, it flooded really bad. The Cumberland River did, and just flooded the whole factory. And they lost a lot of equipment, a lot of guitars.
Oh, bummer.
A lot of artists there lost a lot of stuff because they had their stuff in storage.
Oh, no.
So a lot of guitar players lost a lot of their guitars there. Yep.
That's the way it goes.
That's the way it goes, yeah. You can't plan for that kind of stuff sometimes.
Well, now the guitar lockers are going to be on the top floor.
Right, exactly.
That'll be the change.
Totally.
So McCabe's, I know, is not only, a well-known guitar store, but they have a lot of bands that come and play there.
Oh, yeah.
Over the years, people come to L.A., they want to play McCabe's, right? It's a thing.
It is a thing, man. It's amazing, too, because I never knew until I moved here that place even existed. It's a very well-kept secret, I think.
You've seen a lot of people.
I've seen a lot of people. I haven't seen everybody, but I've seen a lot. Yeah, Rufus Wainwright just played 3 nights a couple of weeks ago and recorded all 3 shows. They had this just crazy cool mobile recording outfit out back.
Wow.
And that alone was mind-boggling to me. It's been around for like 40 years. It's called La Truck, or I think that's what it's called.
And it's just a known mobile recording setup. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a nice Neve board in it and just crazy outboard gear. And they've recorded everything. I mean, I looked on their website, and they've done like Rush, Exit Stage Left,
Wow.
Just you name it, man. It's incredible. The Rolling Stones, all these live recordings,
I saw you on Facebook in the front row of this obscure Japanese pop band, I guess.
Oh, Shonen Knife, yeah.
That's the
in
one.
the 90s, yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, that was a super exciting show. I remember that one like it was yesterday. Yeah, it was like around 96 or 97. Yeah.
I kind of got into music late. The Sugar Cubes.
Oh, yeah. Bjork.
And my friend turned me on to Tom Waits. And I was like, oh, who is this guy? And all of a sudden I started to explore his whole tome.
Sure.
And, I really got into him. And music is absolutely fascinating to me. And I don't like crowds. I can't be in a big crowd situation without being pretty anxious.
Right.
So concerts are almost impossible for me to go to.
Right.
But I know people who spend their youth going to as many live shows as possible. I have a feeling you like your live shows.
I love my live shows, and talking about your youth, and going to live shows when I was a kid, going to shows meant going to arenas. You went to the Coliseum in Memphis to see shows, or North Hall Auditorium. They were huge shows. They weren't intimate. So in the late 80s and 90s, when bands started actually playing clubs, in Memphis and doing that kind of deal, it just opened my world up, to actually, you can actually, see the band for one thing. You're not sitting, a football field away from them. And then you can actually talk to them after the show, and have conversations with them, and that means the world to me.
It's a much richer experience when
totally.
you can do that. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. I did go. My wife went and saw Prince at the Forum when he was here because she's a huge Prince fan. So
oh yeah, mine too.
I did that. I got through that. It was okay. It wasn't too. We were up in some seats, so it wasn't like.
Yeah, when you're sitting, it makes it a little more.
I can
easy
do that.
To deal with.
I can do that. Yeah, I can do a sporting event or whatever as long as.
Yeah.
I don't have to like rub elbows with people. I don't know what it is. Not that I'm afraid of touching people. It's just the amount of people freak me out when it's in the thousands. I just get.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
It can try your patience for sure, man. I was just talking to some people the other day about that, like going to shows. It's like every show I ever go to and I'm on the floor, no matter where I stand, there's always people needing to go past me, like to go into the bathroom or going to the bar, whatever. They're having to walk right past me. But I'm assuming that's everybody's experience, I just feel like it's just me, but it's just something you just got to be like, it's just part of the show,
Yeah. I do like a live theater experience, like either being on stage or in the audience, and it's just kind of that this is only happening for us right here, right now, sort of vibe. That's magical. I love that feeling.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just standing with down in the pit, or even at a soccer game where you're in the standing room only. Sort of, it's just not. It's not good.
Yeah.
So you and I met. We have a mutual friend, Mary Helen.
Yeah.
She lives up in the Benedict Canyon. Yeah. So I've met some interesting people through her. I like to say she collects interesting people, and she has these parties, and you meet the most.
Totally,
you
man.
Meet the most. It's very cool. I like her whole vibe.
Me too, man. I met her at a show.
Did you?
Yeah, I met her at the Magnetic Fields at Royce Hall. It was my first time to go to Royce Hall.
Okay.
In UCLA.
Yeah.
Which is an amazing. Have you been there?
I have. Yeah, I've seen.
I love that
I've seen
place.
a couple plays there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. But yeah, she was sitting next to me, and we started talking at intermission about what a great show it was. And after the whole show was over, we walked around the campus and talked. And we kept in touch on Facebook and that kind of thing. And she invited me over, and great friendships ever since. Yeah, she's awesome.
She's great. And that house that she has, it's so. You're in the middle of LA, but once you kind of go into the backyard, and it's just like you're in this little paradise valley. It's really such a great vibe there. I love it. I really love it.
Me too, man. Me too.
Yeah, it's nice there. I'm due for a visit. I was going to go over for a Super Bowl, but I had too much stuff going on. I'm trying to prepare for a garage sale this weekend, and it's overwhelming.
Yep. Yeah, same here. Our dog just had to have a bunch of teeth pulled, so we wanted to stick around and keep the dog company.
Oh, man, that's awful.
Yeah, well, she's getting up in years, and it's better to have them pulled than, whatever.
And swallow them.
Well, then infection and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That'll kill them. They're very particular about keeping dogs' teeth clean these days, which is a good thing.
Of course.
So anyways, we stayed at home and didn't do the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So you got invited up there too. I imagine. Yeah. She texted me back. Her brother was like, "Well, now I have the best beard in the room," or something like that. Are you originally from Memphis?
I'm originally from Memphis. Yeah. I mean, I grew up there. I was born in Missouri, but I was raised in Memphis. Lived there till 2008, I guess, is when I moved to New York. And moved from New York to here in 2016, and here I am.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a band or had a band with friends type of thing?
Oh yeah, I've had bands. Had a band, probably the first band I had that we actually went in the studio and recorded. It's called Smog. They're kind of a punk rock heavy metal band.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
My 14-year-old has asked me to set up the drum set. I have a drum set in the garage, and he said, I think I'm ready. I have a friend that plays a guitar, and I think I want to try to learn the drums. So
There you go.
that's kind of exciting for me that he's going to use my drum set.
There you go.
That's been
Yeah,
sitting
yeah.
there for a while.
Do you not play?
I can hold it down pretty basic, I'm
Yeah.
not, can't play like punk rock speed sort of,
Yeah.
but I can hold it down. Yeah. And
Cool.
I don't get too fancy, but I can stay in the pocket, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how drummers do it, man. I mean, I can get a beat going, but I can't hold it for any amount of time, man. I get tired.
It
Drums
is
wear
tiring.
me out.
It is for sure tiring. Most drummers are skinny dudes because
yeah.
they are constantly moving. So do you have any did you ever do anything within your bands? Like,
We did a 7-inch. That was the only thing that my first band, Smog, did. Now, after that, I, in Memphis, when the first standalone hard disk recorder came out, it was a Fostex DMT-8. I bought one of those. I saved up my money, bought one of those, and decided I was just going to write my own stuff and try my hand at recording. I was really more into the recording process than I was writing. But then, in doing it, I got really into experimenting and writing, and it was fun, man. So I started a project called The Crummies, which, to me, I called it The Crummies because it was cartoony sounding, and it didn't set the bar too high. You know what I mean?
Right on.
So I could experiment and just write anything I wanted to.
And just have fun.
And have fun, right. And kind of get my chops down writing and recording. Yeah, so I did that. I did like 4 CDs worth of music. The first one had like 22 songs on it. I think at the end of the day, I had about 60 songs.
Wow.
That I had written and recorded. Never really did anything with it. Didn't release it. Didn't get a label. Didn't shop labels or anything. But it's fun, and I'm still kind of doing that. I've actually taken a lot of those songs and we're turning them into acoustic songs now.
And they all have lyrics?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, not all, but most of
Most
them.
of them have lyrics.
Mhm.
That's great.
There's a few instrumentals.
That's prolific. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. I don't know, maybe it was 10 years ago or something. I've always sort of like been able to play a few chords here and there, and I decided I wanted to learn how to use GarageBand.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote this song about this guy at work who was bugging people, and so it just came out of frustration, and it was a way to kind of get it off my chest.
Yeah.
Since then, I had little spurts, but I've probably recorded, like, I don't know, 5, 6 songs with lyrics, and I have like some others I've just written lyrics for that I haven't put any music to. But I find that my musicality is not deep enough. I don't have like I'm not armed with a lot of chords and a lot of various patterns that I can work off of. I just have like a few standard blues ones that I just tend to live in, but
That's all right.
I need to expand out, but I haven't done it in a while. But I don't know if this happens for you, but when I get into a songwriting state, especially when I'm looking for lyrics and stuff, I feel like I'm going fishing in some weird special lake somewhere that I found. Sometimes you find this right little fishing hole, this one little cove what nobody knows about, and all of a sudden they just start coming. You're like, where are these coming from, man? And just pull them in, just put them in the boat. You can deal with them later,
Right.
It's weird. It's weird. I think I've definitely tapped into that, and it's a thing. You hear songwriters talk about it, and I don't remember how I got into it, but I remember it happening to me, and it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's very therapeutic, and that's the thing. I mean, even before I started playing guitar, I remember sitting in school or wherever, or on the way to my grandma's house or whatever in the car, and just putting things together in my head, and hearing songs on the radio and thinking, man, it would be cool if they repeated this part more. I don't know, just all these things that I just like, I wish I could just do this myself, you know what I mean? And I was always trying to piece things together in my head musically. And then when I finally learned how to play guitar, and like you said, got kind of equipped with a few patterns or whatever, it just starts coming to you, and it's a great thing, you know, because there is stuff inside us that needs to be released, you know.
Yeah.
That thing, and no, whether it's music or sports or whatever, I think people just have that, you know. You have to get it out, you know.
You need a valve.
You've got to have a valve, totally, man. Yeah, and it's cool when you release it, man.
Yeah.
How it just, it all comes out. Yeah,
It's like scratching an itch in a way. It's like, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be. I felt good.
totally, man. Yeah, it can calm you and put you in a great spirit, you know, for days, you know, for sure.
Totally.
Gets me in a good headspace. I think that's kind of why I never really pursued like the labels and trying to do it professionally and all that, because I'm afraid it would become more of a job, I guess, you know, and maybe I'd lose that. Maybe I wouldn't. I don't know, you know, but I was just like, that's part of why I'm like, you know what? I don't have anything really to live up to except myself. That's the only, you know, levels of whatever that I do it to whatever level I want to.
You're the only person you're trying to impress.
Impress, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's
Because a lot of times I'm my biggest fan, that's for sure. I listen to my music all the time in the car, and I enjoy it, and it's never gotten old, and I've never really thought, geez, that really sucks. What the hell was I thinking? You know, I can get something out of it. It may not be the greatest song in the world, but I know where I was at in that time.
Yeah.
And I get things personally out of the stuff, you know what I mean?
You should put one out on Facebook. You know, just every once in a while, just like, oh,
I thought about that. Yeah,
it's easy to do because, like, you know, I mean, just like this podcast, you know, you can just
I thought about like starting a YouTube page maybe or something, and you know, because I've heard YouTube's the thing that, you know, if you do it yourself, maybe you
it's
can
not
get
hard
interest.
to do.
Yeah. It's easy to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially if it's just audio,
Right.
You can just put up some kind of just a still.
Sure.
And then
I've
play
actually
your music.
done videos too, and I love doing videos as well. Just
well, then absolutely.
with green screen and stuff.
Oh, fuck yeah! You definitely should put those up.
I'm a huge like old Sid and Marty Krofft fan, and all those shows, the Saturday morning cartoon shows. You know,
I knew the guy who designed HR Puffin stuff. He was his name's W.J. Evans. He also did he also did Ice Capades and all that. It was his thing. I worked for him briefly years ago. Yeah,
that's incredible, man.
Yeah, and he was telling me all these stories, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah, that's probably one of the highlights of my life, man. When we moved here, they did a art show for Sid and Marty Krofft. It was all original art based around all their shows, you know. And one of the best things there was a HR Puffin stuff portrait made out of Fruit Loops, man. It was awesome.
Oh, that's great.
But they were both there, man, and I got to meet them, and they signed my book. I've got a biography of theirs, and they signed it, and I got to tell them how much, you know, I loved them and loved the shows when I was a kid. And Sid told me, he's like, we fucked your head up, didn't we, man? I was like, you absolutely did, man.
He's like, that's what we were trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I got this opportunity to work as his assistant. This guy named Richard Duryea, who was Dan Duryea's son. Dan Duryea was an actor back in the day, and through some family connection, I got offered this job. I was just about to start at USC, and it was like, do you want to be his assistant? He needs someone to type up this one thing, and also run errands for him, and so I was at his house there for many years, for many months, and that he had this house for many years that was, he had this collection of National Geographics that went way back. And I thought, that is so cool. And he explained to me, he goes like, that way I have a reference to any period of the way people dressed, the way people looked at that time exactly. And it was like I could refer to a pantsuit or something someone was wearing if I wanted to get it very specific. He said they're the ideal art reference for all kinds of things.
Wow,
and I thought, you're right. And because of that guy, I started collecting National Geographics. I should show you my garage.
I'd love to see it. Yeah.
I have from 1917 current.
Wow.
Well, actually, I stopped about 2 years ago just because it was getting out of control. So,
yeah.
But I've got way too many National Geographics, but they're great for reference.
We used to get them, but I always just like to look at the pictures of like space or pictures of, they did a lot of things like that, of the astronauts and all that kind of stuff back when I was a kid. And also like pictures of the jungle and pictures of the ocean and fish. And I don't know. That's what I don't even remember the fashion part of it, like.
I imagine we're of similar age. Are you born in the late 60s?
Yeah. 67.
Yeah, I'm 68. So yeah.
That's
what I figured. We're right around the same.
Yeah.
And Black Sabbath.
Oh yeah.
Was that you like?
I love Black Sabbath. Yeah. You know what? I didn't really get into them till the late 70s, or early 80s maybe even, when I first started playing guitar. But yeah, they a lot of those bands, man, came around late for me because I don't know, they just weren't played on the radio really.
Sure.
Memphis. They were playing Zeppelin,
I don't know if you know, but I was an editor on the Osbournes. I cut 5 of those.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me that. Yeah, that's awesome.
That was. I wasn't like I wasn't have anything against Ozzy. I just wasn't like a huge Ozzy Black Sabbath fan, but I realized that there are a lot of them out there. And when I mentioned that I worked on the Osbournes, a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, Ozzy! I love Ozzy!" And so he's really is the root of that sort of music, isn't he? I mean,
oh, for sure, of like heavy.
Like
metal. Yeah, I mean, he's the invented it. Him and Tony Iommi for sure.
Yeah,
invented that sound. Yep.
He was wild. Ozzy was a wild man.
Yeah, to me, like the heaviest music in the 70s, that was the heaviest stuff I remember hearing them in Deep Purple. When I was a kid.
Now you have Norwegian death metal, which makes that stuff look like elevator music, doesn't it?
Right. Yep. And the whole noise scene and all that too. One of my favorite bands is Melt Banana, and just
when you say the noise scene,
you
mean like
just noise, making music out of noise.
So like no instruments, please.
Or
or let's do
odd instruments. I mean, Melt Banana has instruments. I mean, but they are just making sound effects basically, but with music. I mean, they have a rhythm section. They started out with a bass player and a drummer, but so they're playing something you can catch on to.
Sure.
But the guitar player is just freaking amazing, man. Just noises. He's inspired by video games and that kind of thing, and just recreating just wacky noises.
And then putting him in a beat that sounds cool.
Exactly, man. Then they have a singer too. She's amazing as well. Her voice sounds like a cartoon character.
Wow, what's it called? Tell me.
Melt Banana.
Melt Banana.
Yeah.
Definitely gonna give them a listen.
Yeah, they're like the bubblegum of noise music to me. Like bubblegum rock noise, as opposed to like the darker like Neubauten, that kind of stuff.
I once went into a bar in downtown L.A. and this beautiful bartender, I remember I was trying to talk to her, and she asked me what kind of music I was into, and I forget what I said, but she said Throbbing Gristle. There's a band called Throbbing Gristle, and I'm like,
yeah,
Throbbing Gristle. And so I went and looked them up. They are out there.
Yeah, I saw them when I was in New York, man, at Le Poisson Rouge. They're freaking amazing, man. Yeah, they were so great.
That would have been a show I would have been like, I think I might need to go just to see what this is all about.
It was scary, man. They were creepy, but it was great.
Somebody was bleeding on stage at some point, probably, right?
No, they were up in years, at that time, and most of them sat down. There were like a couple of people sitting down on their laptops, and then you had Genesis was the singer,
right,
and had a bass player, and can't even remember. I'm sure they had a drummer. Maybe they didn't. Maybe the drums were canned drums. I don't remember, but it was dark, man. They were cool. And then I saw Genesis play up at Pappy and Harriet's. Have you been up there?
No, where's that?
The shows up in the high desert, Pioneer Town, Yucca Valley.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's incredible, man. It's this really great little roadhouse And,
no kidding.
They have shows up there all the time, but it was an outdoor show. The band was called Psychic TV, but it was Genesis
Right,
band.
right. Psychic TV, sure.
But they were incredible, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a feeling you'd know who they were.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. My old roommate turned me on to them a long time ago in Memphis. He had all their records, and but they're one of those kind of bands you can't listen to on record and get it completely. You know what I mean? I heard it on record and I was like, yeah, that's pretty wild shit. You know, but
You saw them live.
you have to see it live. Yeah.
They're like performance artists, really.
Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily anything they did visually. It was just, wow, they're really doing it. And you hear it, you feel it, it's louder, and it's just really impactful, you know? You get the full thing.
Yeah, it was because of this girl that I even heard of them or even looked into them. And
Yeah.
that was the last time I ever saw her was, somebody else came up and ordered a drink, and I was like, all right, I'm going to walk away. But I was like, Throbbing Gristle, I'm going to look into it.
Great name, right?
Well, dude, thank you for coming to chat.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
This was for sure interesting. I learned a lot of stuff, and thanks again. I
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having me, man. Yeah, this was great. Thank you very much.
All right, well, that was Jody Hill. Thanks, Jody. Great talking to you. I'm going to send you over a couple of my songs and find out what you think about them. So look for those. All right, everybody. So thank you for all those emails I got last week. Very nice of you. Keep them coming. And, so next week, I don't know who's going to be on the show or if there's even going to be a show. Well, there'll be a show. Maybe I'll put my son Mateo on. No, I'm hoping to get somebody else interviewed before next week. So that's the plan. Ciao for now, everybody. Man of Conviction Podcast @gmail.com. Write me.